In this module, we take a deeper dive into what defines each of the dimensions. Part 1 will examine accuracy, availability and accessibility, completeness and consistency. In Part 2, we will examine currency, reliability and creditability, usability and interpretability, and validity. Let's begin with Dimension 1, accuracy. Accuracy is measured by three characteristics. The first one is accuracy to reference source. If data can be obtained from an external official source, i.e. through the use of an official registry organization, then we consider it to be accurate. For example, if the data entry screen uses an address lookup capability from a postal service to verify addresses, then we know that the resulting address should be of high quality. The second characteristic is accuracy to reality. This is a measure of how close the data matches its real-world object. For example, if the real-world object is a specific make and model of a motor vehicle, then has the correct manufacturer, make, model, year of production and class been correctly recorded? The third characteristic is precision. Is the data accurate in terms of the level of granularity required to represent the real-world object? For example, if the sale price is $34.98 and we only recorded the $34, then we are losing 98 cents per sale. This kind of loss of precision is known as a truncation error. Another example would be if the data entry field for an address was shorter than the physical address, which sometimes happens. Then we have truncated the address to make it fit. In summary, accuracy is clearly more than just, is it right? It's an assessment of how close data resembles its real-world object in all aspects, including shape, size, look, and feel. The second dimension is availability and accessibility. This is measured by the following 6 characteristics. The first one is data access control. This is a measurement of how secure the data is and the effectiveness of controls put in place to prevent unauthorized access to protected data. For example, the controls put in place to ensure a hacker cannot steal personal or confidential data. The second characteristic is continuity of data access. This is a measurement of the degree to which data is always available, i.e., the stability of the data access. If data is not always available, then this may negatively impact the data consumers as they may not be able to reliably access data when needed. The third is data maintainability. This is the degree to which we can maintain the data, e.g., if we identify a problem with the data, is there a defined process that we know to follow to have it corrected? The fourth is data awareness. Is there a way that data consumers can find out what data is available, such as a data catalog? This is the measurement of the degree to which curated data is published for consumption. The fifth is ease of data access. This is a measurement of how easily data can be accessed without unnecessary barriers using tools that data consumers are familiar with. The sixth is data punctuality. For data to be most effective, it must be available immediately for use. Data punctuality is the measure of the time lag between an event occurring and the data being available in the information system. For example, if the event is a customer filling out a paper form, then this would measure how long it takes from receipt of the form to data entry being completed. The lag should be as close to zero as possible. In summary, in order for data to be useful, consumers need to know what data is available and how it is defined. Consumers also need to know how to access the data effectively. The third dimension is completeness. Completeness is measured by the following 4 characteristics. The first one is completeness of mandatory attributes. This is a measurement of the degree to which values have been provided for mandatory, i.e. required, attributes. For example, if the date of birth is mandatory, then we can assess how many blanks or nulls exist. The second characteristic is completeness of optional attributes. A complete record is made up of mandatory and optional data. Optional data is generally considered a nice to have, but not essential. This characteristic measures how many optional attributes have a value in each record. The third characteristic is completeness of records. This is a measurement of how complete records are, i.e. the count of the mandatory and optional attributes that have been provided. The fourth characteristic is data volume. This characteristic measures the degree to which the volume of data is appropriate for business use. Data consumers may have expectations about how much data should be available within a specific period of time, for example, looking at a monthly report of sales data. So in summary, for data to be useful, it must accurately reflect or model the real-world object. Just like missing pieces from a jigsaw puzzle, if data is missing, then you only get part of the picture. The fourth dimension is consistency. Consistency is measured by the following 6 characteristics. The first one is uniqueness. This characteristic measures the degree to which values are unique within an attribute. For example, customer names will never be unique. So in order to identify a specific customer, you need some other data such as a unique customer identifier. It is important that these identifiers are not duplicated within the customer record. The second characteristic is redundancy. In an ideal world, data only exists in one location. This characteristic is a measurement of how many locations the same data attribute may be found. For example, an organization may have customer name and address data duplicated in a customer database and in a finance database. Having the same data in multiple locations creates a problem in keeping them synchronized, i.e., if you change a value on one system, do all the other copies get updated automatically, or are they disconnected and therefore require manual updates? If address is recorded differently for the same customer, which one do you use? The third characteristic is semantic consistency. We discussed the importance of context in the first module and how metadata provides context about data. Included in metadata is the definition of the data and associated business rules. This information provides the semantic definition of the data attribute. So, semantic consistency then is a measurement of how close the data is to the semantic, i.e. business, definition. For example, if we have defined a field called title that will only accept values Mrs. and Mr., then other values like Dr. and Miss would be considered invalid according to the rules, even though we know these are generally acceptable values. The fourth characteristic is value consistency. Following on from measuring how consistent data is to its definition, this characteristic measures how closely values match each other. For example, if you have an attribute called mobile phone number, but people record non-mobile phone numbers, then you will have value inconsistencies. The fifth characteristic is format consistency. Format consistency measures how closely data matches a defined format. For example, if you had an attribute called telephone number and you specified the format as country code followed by an area code followed by the number, and you have values like 33541671, then this doesn't meet the format requirements, i.e. it's missing the country code and the area code. The sixth characteristic is referential integrity. To ensure that we can uniquely identify a record, we assign a unique identifier, just like assigning a customer ID to a customer so that we can identify them. Other data related to the customer will be stored as its own record with its own unique identifier. Referential integrity is making sure that these records are properly connected so they can be found later. So in summary, consistency helps build trust in the data, particularly when analyzing a column of data. If the data all look similar in terms of format and structure, then it becomes easier to spot the data that might be incorrect.